Today's game features Carlsen, Magnus playing as white against Ibarra Jerez, Jose Carlos as black. Move 0. White advances on the flank. Black advances the pawn to e5. White pushes to c4. And black knight jumps to f6, developing the minor pieces first. White establishes a pawn on e3. Black advances the pawn. Now, white pushes to g4. Black advances the pawn, staking out territory. White advances the pawn. Black establishes a pawn on d6. Preparing to castle. We're at move 5. White pushes to g5. Black knight to h5. White takes the pawn with the pawn. Black pawn takes pawn. As time becomes precious, white queen removes the queen, checking the king. Black king snaps off the queen as the clock winds down. White maneuvers the knight to f3, completing development. Black bishop slides to g7, keeping an eye on the time. White places the knight on c3. Black places the bishop on g4 with limited time available. We're at move 10. White plants the bishop on e2. Black repositions the knight to d7. With time starting to run short, white brings the knight to d2, creating attacking chances. Black bishop snaps off the bishop, mindful of the clock. White king removes the bishop. Black advances the pawn, with time becoming a factor. White repositions the knight to e4. Black takes the pawn with the pawn, securing key outposts. Needing to find moves quickly, white knight captures pawn, offering material, improving the worst piece. Black king to e7. As time becomes precious, we're at move 15. White advances to b3. Black moves the king, keeping an eye on the time. White knight to e4. With limited time available, black bishop slides to f8. With time starting to run short, white finds a stronger diagonal. As the clock winds down, black pawn to f5, with less than a minute on the clock. White places the knight on g3. Mindful of the clock, black bishop slides to d6. With time ticking away, white brings the rook into play, with time becoming a factor. Now, black king walks to e7. With the clock running down. Move 20. White rook shifts to d2, with time starting to run short. Black knight takes the knight, check. Feeling the time pressure, white pawn captures the knight on g3, keeping an eye on the time. Black bishop moves to b4, in time trouble. White activates the rook in the endgame, under time pressure. Black pawn moves to e4. Scrambling to find moves. White repositions the rook, racing against the clock. Black deploys the rook to h5, playing on the increment alone. White moves the rook to d1, with barely any time left. Black develops the knight to f6, fighting the clock. We're at move 25. White pushes the passed pawn to a3. With just seconds remaining, black bishop moves to c5, with time running out. White slides the rook to d2, converting the advantage. In severe time trouble, black repositions the rook, shouldering the king away, on the brink of losing on time. Now, white advances the critical pawn, racing against the clock. Black deploys the bishop to b6, with only seconds left on the clock. White cuts off the enemy king with the rook. In desperate time trouble, black rook to f8. With the clock about to expire, white rook shifts to e6, delivering the final blow. Checkmate.